Clint,
Colette,
how's it going?
it's going all right. All things considered, I did manage to injure myself this weekend. Yeah, nothing terribly permanent, but
Were you skiing?
sprained or strained my wrist playing
Oh
hockey.
no. Oh,
Yeah. Every time I hurt myself now, though, I think I need to do a little personal post-incident analysis on this. Like, okay, what was going on at the time? What was going through my head? I'm
did
broken now. This community has broken me. Like, I just can't just like be like, ow, it hurts, fix it. I'll be fine later.
See, I just feel like I would just run the numbers of like how frequently does somebody get a minor injury from playing ice hockey versus like tennis
No,
versus
that's
like
what I'm
any other
doing in my
thing.
head.
Like it's just like it feels like inevitable to some degree, like any incident. Um, yeah, I'm glad it
No,
wasn't
the
skiing. I
doctor
feel
told
like
me that hockey players, he gets a lot. Like, I was at the urgent care
yeah,
getting it x-rayed, and they were like, he was just like, hockey players, man. Like, you all just
you all are
like,
nuts. Yeah.
yeah, totally. Because I'm like, how long do I have to wait before I can go play again? And he's like, until it doesn't hurt anymore. Like, and then a little longer. Like, what is wrong with you?
Well, that's I mean, I there's like a very uh in vogue style of doing like Instagram or whatever TikTok posts from like doctors who are like the top 5 things I wouldn't let my kids do or whatever, like as a pediatric ER doctor. And like I pay attention to those, like, but like a lot of it is like I don't let my kid go to like trampoline parks. Like,
Mm,
trampolines are like responsible for more broken bones. Keep
I've
orthopedic
seen some
surgeons in
pretty
business,
pretty
basically.
bad
Yeah.
injuries at
So
those places.
it's like I've never seen somebody say like I wouldn't play hockey. I did see a, a, a neurology doctor be like I wouldn't do downhill mountain biking, basically.
You're
Like
just mentioning all of
that's
me and my children's hobbies.
trampoline parks downhill. But that is like then you see the beautiful comments in the thing of like from like all the people who like love downhill mountain biking. They're like, yeah, whatever, man. I'm gonna keep doing my thing. And it's like, okay, like, risk. If none of us tolerated any risk, what would we ever do? What would we ever do? Nothing fun, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think that my life is just full of like calculated risks and the amazing rush of dopamine and feeling of accomplishment of like making it through with those risks in mind.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, skiing, sailing, hockey. I did my first attempt at downhill mountain biking did not go well. That was a year ago. Uh, I'm very lucky it was just a temporary injury on that one too, but I definitely feel good about trying it, right? Like, and
Yeah.
having like gone like, okay, like now I know that that legitimately is much harder than all these other things, and I need
Yeah.
to slow my roll a little bit.
Ah, I love it. Well,
Yeah.
uh, I am just I don't have anything interesting to say except for that I understand a lot about tariffs and the cost of wood wood floors and
Oh God.
um siding and uh yeah, my life
You're
is
fixing up, right? You're fixing up a new place,
I'm
right? Yeah.
cosplaying as an interior designer. I have no business being an interior designer. Uh, and I don't know why anybody ever trusted me to do it. It will be interesting to see the output. I have like fantasies that we're gonna get like a professional photographer in before my children move into the house and ruin it. So that I can be like really proud of my work for a second. But yeah, uh maybe that will happen. And then also maybe I will be like, oh, never mind. I tried. But we keep uncovering amazing things about the house. They started excavating around the house because we're gonna like seal the basement and stuff like that. So they're excavating around the house and they found like an old cistern. Like it's like right
Oh.
next to the house. It has like brick inside of it. It's this massive hole.
Nice.
Yeah, so it is pretty cool to
Are you
like.
going to use it? Like, is it
No,
salvageable? Where you, no?
no,
Oh, okay.
no,
Because people
no.
do that these days,
I know we could
sustainability,
as a
like
dry well because
make a
we are.
cistern.
Yeah, we could use it as a dry well. Because we are going to do French drains, but no, I'm told my husband we're going to pay taxes to the city and push that water into the sewer line because
Yeah.
complexity is bad, as we will
Right.
discuss later. Yeah. I don't want to add to complexity. I just want to like join the beauty of public works. Okay.
Especially where you live.
Yes. So I'm so excited for what we're doing today. We got a question. It has to do with a little 2-word phrase that we love in our community, root cause. And we invited our friend Lauren to come talk to us about it. So
So
Lauren
excited.
Hochstein. I'm so excited. Lauren is a professional software engineer with a background in academic research and a focus on reliability and operations. He is particularly fascinated by complex systems failures, what they can teach us, and the interplay of people, technology, and work. Lauren also runs a blog called Surfing Complexity. He can be found on Mastodon, Blue Sky, and Twitter at No Root Cause. Hence why we brought him here. And he's basically just awesome. You may know him from Lauren's Law, which we will post a link to as well later. Please join us in welcoming Lauren. Lauren, welcome. Welcome to the podcast. We are very, very lucky and honored to have you with us. I'm very excited to have you here. How's it going? How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm very happy to be here. Be on the podcast. Yeah.
Aw. One of our 3 fans. I'm so excited.
We're up to 6. Come on, we're up
We
to
have
6.
6 fans.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I saw you, full disclosure, I saw you last week. I was able to give you a hug in person, which I'm really grateful for. You're based in San Fran. Did we talk about the earthquake? Did you feel the earthquake?
I did not. So I'm actually based in San Jose. So I'm like
Oh, you're like further south.
further
Okay.
south, yeah. And so I think it was
Which is like a different state from San Francisco.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. It's a separate climate and everything. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, that means that when SRECon is in San Jose, you don't have far to travel. So that's really good.
Yeah, except next time it's going to be in Seattle.
In Seattle.
Everybody else happy because like
Yeah.
people hate the San Jose venue because like there's nothing around like the Santa Clara Convention Center to do, but I always find it really convenient.
Yeah, it is.
I have a theory that it keeps people together, though.
Yeah.
It keeps you together. It forces you to be in that lobby.
Yes, I know that lobby well.
Yeah, we all do. If you've been around the tech world long enough, you've probably been stuck in that lobby.
It's a great hang. Okay. So you may, if you're a huge fan, you probably know the format. We get a question and then we answer the question from a listener. So we found this question and well, actually this person wrote like 3 different things in one thing. And I think actually person who wrote in, I think you did 3 separate entries, but I'm okay with them because they're all really good. But the first part of this, it says root cause analysis versus incident analysis. What are the differences and similarities, if any? And Clint and I were talking about this question, and we thought, who better than Mr. No Root Cause himself?
For those who don't know, Lauren's social media handle is at No Root Cause.
No, yes.
And I also thought like it would be good to chat with you about it. I will admit, I did way more research than normal for this episode, which means I looked at some papers on the internet for like 15 minutes. But
thank God somebody did.
Because I was really curious, like, I was really curious where the concept of root cause came from, because, like, and I'll just say, like, I I find some of this language stuff to be a little pedantic at times, but then also there are these funny things where, like, I was looking uh for like different papers and scholar.google.com or whatever to kind of find out where root cause started or where it came from, and I saw so many things that are like, oh, secondary root causes of things, and I'm like, but that's not. But what is a secondary or a tertiary root? Like, what does that even mean? And anyway, so it seems to be that the consensus is, via my search, that root cause might be tied in a little bit with our friend, the Five Whys, in terms of its origin story, which is around Toyota manufacturing plants and this sort of method of examining manufacturing defects and understanding through processes how something happened, right? So that the root cause might have also been like the fifth why, I guess, is that also the root cause is the fifth why? Should we get that on a t-shirt? um Anyways, so I was curious though, that is the extent of my research. I have some other, but it gets used in medical fields, it gets used in manufacturing, like it gets used all over the place now as a word. And many people who work, especially in the enterprise B2B world, will be familiar with needing to produce something called an RCA, for short, root cause analysis. For usually that's part of a customer contractual agreement where if you have an incident, a customer may have in your contract that you need to produce a root cause analysis. So correct me if I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm not a expert on the history of root cause analysis and five whys. My understanding is similar to yours, that it comes from the like Japanese manufacturing space and Toyota. I think five whys explicitly comes from Toyota, I want to say. To me, like they're synonymous, like, or at least like five whys is how people do root cause analysis. So like I personally use those two interchangeably. But I have not. You've probably now have done more research than I have into the history of root cause analysis. I will say that like one thing I see very frequently is the term used during an incident and the term used after an incident very different, right? Like during an incident, people are like, we don't know what the root cause is, which means like we have no idea like why this thing's broken, what's happening and stuff. Versus afterwards, well, like when they say root cause there, they mean something different. Like, okay, well, why did it really happen? Not like, oh, like the database fell over, but like, okay, but why did the database really fall over? Well, it's like the actual like true real reason why
what
that
was
happened.
Underneath the root cause
Yeah, exactly.
that we identified during the incident.
Yeah, and I, honestly, like during incidents, I don't like I'm not fussy about that. Like, oh, I probably myself would try not to use it, but like during incidents, pretty clear what people mean when they say it, and like like and it helps in mitigation, like during. So it's only afterwards, like in the post incident stuff, that I personally get very fussy about root cause.
Pedantry is almost never welcome in an incident,
No.
like as there's active response. Yeah. I think that's actually worth noting. Like, as much as I get nails in the chalkboard vibes after the incident, I think it's a great call out. During, sure, you want to call it that. Like, I probably try not to say it too. I'll always say like, what's actually broken, right? Or like, is that is that a symptom or a cause? Is what I'll say a lot of times too, right? But that's what people are saying those same things when they're saying like, we haven't identified the root cause yet during the incident.
Yeah. I mean, during an incident, you want communication to be as effective as possible, right? Like that's the main goal, right? From a coordination perspective, is you want people to like be on the same page, use language everyone knows, and so like that is the worst time to like fight people on language.
Like,
actually,
I think,
don't do that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I have the same attitude about people talking about root cause analysis RCA docs and being like, oh, like, I don't, and I'm like, look, man, this is what got put in the contract with the customer. And if you put something that's not like a traditional 5 whys or whatever in that thing that gives the customer information that they want, like, they're not going to care. Like, they just want information about the incident. They want to know that you're on top of things. Like, they want to know that you care about the things you're experiencing from a reliability perspective. And like, it doesn't, like, so call it what you need to call it to fulfill the contractual whatever, right?
It's fun, yeah. So like, I think every RCA is basically, we're very sorry this happened. Uh, This is what broke. It's not going to break again, right? Like, it's basically those three, like, those are the 3 points, and like every single one is like that. And like, I've never been on the side of a company, like I've never been at work at B2B really. So like, I'm used to being on the receiving end of those.
I feel like it's
Uh,
very two truths and a lie, isn't it? We're
uh,
very sorry this happened. This is
like,
why it'll never happen again. One of
yeah.
these is a lie.
Oh man.
But like, and it's really like people. The funny thing is though that like you see this urgency, like, yeah, we need the RCA, and like, and I'm personally very curious. I love these things, and the level of detail varies like wildly from like 3 sentences to like more detail when it's actually they have a when the public one matches the customer one, then they tend to have more detail because they put the effort in, they put it in public. But I find it really interesting. People are like, yeah, we got to get the RCA, we got to get the RCA, and I'm like, what are you gonna do with that? Like what are you like what? Yeah, like what insights are you going to get? Like, it's not really going to like it's.
I'm gonna put it under my pillow and sleep better, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it is, right? I mean, it fulfills
it's a customer
a,
relationship
yeah.
document at the end of the day, right? It's please don't cancel your contract with us. Please, don't. And but I don't mean that in um a derogatory way. Like, I do think that there needs to be some level of customer relationship like work that's done after you have an outage. Like, that should be a given. That's just customer service, in my opinion. But I do think it is sort of funny that the language seeps in these places and in these ways, and it all goes back to, I don't know, a tree, or the tree has roots, right? Or Toyota manufacturing plants or whatever. Like, it's kind of all come to this point where we've kind of semantically lost its meaning in many ways, and then also use it in many different ways, and sort of what does it really mean? I think when this person wrote in, they're specifically contrasting it with root cause analysis versus incident analysis. And so, I wonder if perhaps they're talking about specifically this idea of, the 5 whysing, or the kind of going really down deep, a little chain of whys into, okay, this is the final thing that is the root cause, versus the kinds of in-depth incident analyses that the folks in the resilience engineering community advocate for, which is a little bit more about doing really in-depth interviews with people who are involved in the incident, understanding both the incident itself and the remediation around the incident, and then publishing a report that usually is much more descriptive and has narrative in it, but is much more descriptive and has kind of these themes. At least this is what Clint and I have done in the past, these themes to all of that. Do you do those analyses, Lauren? Those kind of that in-depth analysis? I think
I
you've done it
mean,
before, right?
I have done it before in the past. It's my preferred way of doing things, right? So I guess if you think of those two, like there's root cause analysis versus whatever we want to call it, like the resilience approach. Like, it's funny, I heard incident analysis and I thought this is a sort of general like post-incident stuff in the way that like root cause analysis is one way of doing it, and then the like resiliency way is like another way of doing it. And I personally prefer the resiliency way because I think like we get more out of it. Like I think that the organization benefits more from that approach. Like you get something out of it. I mean, here's the thing, like you get something out of root cause analysis, I assume, and people keep doing it. Like they, you know, I wouldn't say it's I don't know, you get zero, but I think we could do a lot better, right? Like, so I think the incident analysis approach, I feel like gets more like insights, like helps us be, I don't know, better engineers, build better systems, and also that like time is finite. That like the problem is like you have like two possible different approaches, and there's only so many hours in a day, and like 1 hour spent on one is an hour not spent on the other, and so like you gotta kind of like people are like, well, you could do both, and I'm like, well, but really you gotta, I mean, are you gonna fund twice as much? No. Like on the same, you're gonna double up? No, you're gonna have to make trade-offs. And so like one of the things that we recognize in this analysis is everything is a freaking trade-off, right? And so I am more partial to the incident analysis approach, but it does like the challenge is that like the incident analysis approach assumes a very different way of systems failing, right? Like the hard part is not just like, you know, asking why instead of how. It's that like the 5 whys approach, root cause analysis assumes there is a root cause. Like it assumes that like systems fail because like you can trace it down to one thing. And the incident analysis one, the, you know, resilience one, does not assume that. It assumes that like there's multiple things that have to go wrong. And like it's not like you can ever do an experiment and say, you know, actually root cause is right or actually, you know, resilience is right. You can't. Like you can always do a root cause analysis. You can always do an incident one, right? So there's no like we're never going to resolve this through like a set of experiments that show like the nature of complex systems failure is actually X and not Y. So it has to come down to like, well, what's like useful? What's more useful, right? Like I don't say that like root causes don't exist. I just think they're like not useful. You know, you can always pick one. You can always point to something and say there's a root cause, right? You can always do that. People do it all the time. The problem is, I think that like actually hurts your, you know, reliability in the long term by doing that because you're missing so much stuff, right? Like if you want to like, I don't know, find where the other risks are, you are gonna miss a lot. And like I'm just rambling here, but like the reason one of the biggest reasons why I'm against root cause is that like the identifying a root cause assumes like that's the thing that's most likely going to break you in the future. Like to me, that is the implicit assumption. Like, we need to find the root cause because if we address the root cause, that will maximize our like future reliability. Right? Like, this is the thing that if we don't address that, then things will be worse. And I think that is like empirically false, and no one even asks.
You think it's sort of like asking for a prioritization list of action items, essentially. It's like, oh, well, if we find that this is the root cause, then this is where we focus 90% of our energy, let's say resolving something, in theory. That's how you've seen it play out?
Exactly. So you're basically predicting what the future incidents are going to be. Right? You're saying, by root cause analysis, you're saying the future incidents are most likely going to be due to like this factor. And so this is where we should put it.
Yeah.
Just think that's like, not only do I think it's false, I think that like people don't even realize they're making that assumption. That it's like they just sort of implicitly assume it's an assumption that's implicit. And so it's not like, well, like look at that last incident and this other thing you didn't think of, like it bit us next time. And the real like I guess irony is that people are like, well, we want to fail like differently each time, right? We want to make sure like that is the language people use, right? And I'm like, you're already there.
Never have the same incident.
Yeah. I'm like,
we're never going to have this again. Yes.
Yeah. Like I'm telling it, mission accomplished already. You can stop. I promise you, the next incident is going to be different. But like people don't.
Yeah, but I mean, that's also taking. So I want to. Because I also called that a lie earlier. And the reason I called it a lie is because what people often mean, I think, is, an incident of the same flavor will not happen
Yep.
again. And the lie in that isn't so much that it won't happen again. It's that nobody can know that it won't happen again. And that somebody choosing to say that to a customer is just a flat out lie, right? That is sort of rooted in hubris and a belief in processes that don't actually work.
Well, and there's some valid fear. Like I always we say that the same incident will never repeat, right? And we agree that all of the aspects, if you actually look at the whole thing, it never repeats, right? But I don't know if I forget if you were involved with this one too, Clip. There was an incident report that we made a long time ago called "Lightning Strikes Twice," and it was we were basically pointing out that it was a rhyming incident. Some things happened and and it fell on the floor, like this root cause analysis. There was a root cause analysis done on that incident,
On the
and
first
the
one.
team
Yeah.
on the first one, the first time
Yeah.
it happened, something major broke, and that team just kind of got shuffled around, and that ticket fell on the floor, and a year later, something very similar happened again. I don't remember what it was, certificate expiration or something to do with mobile apps. I don't actually remember what the root cause was, but I do remember that the incident report we did pointed out that no, the new root cause is not the same root cause. It's moving that team around and having tickets fall on the floor and having them not have the space to actually address the weaknesses in their system. Like, so that root cause analysis actually did have some value. And as you say, it's not zero. But not analyzing your organization's handling of the incident, even going afterwards, would be a huge mistake and would invite a whole class of problems that maybe wouldn't look the same, right? But they would have this problem, which is you're not addressing even the stuff that are obvious to you.
Yeah. I mean, so one of the challenges here is that I like the rhyming metaphor there, is that like there are uh, patterns that happen over and over and over again. And one of the challenges, once again, with like root cause analysis is it can cause you to miss those because you're not like you're focused on one piece here. So like one of my favorites uh, is migrations. Uh, on both sides, on like a migration that is like doing the migration that has not been completed yet, so not finishing the migration, both of those. But like the migration itself is a thing that doesn't get like labeled as a a root cause, but like and each migration is different. But in general, man, migrations are hard and they take a long time, and there are all sorts of factors that make them difficult and take longer and they are risky things. But there you are going to miss. So like Clinton, you talked about like the organizational thing, like people getting shuffled around. I've seen like a service gets owned by a team, gets like transferred to a team that doesn't really have much expertise with it, and ends up owning it. And so like that, like how well does the team that owns the service actually like how well positioned are they to deal with problems when they arise, right? Once that those are never going to get labeled as like root cause, but they're like so there are problems that are going to be invisible, right? So this is the problem is that you will miss an enormous number of patterns because of the root cause lens, because there are things that contribute that increase the chance of things getting dropped on the floor, but that you will not see because they just don't fit in that like that root cause like view of things, that it was like that particular change, say.
There's another tack too that I've heard around why is root causing something not the right lens to use on understanding an incident fully, and that comes from complexity theory. So a lot of people use the you might have seen during the pandemic the Swiss cheese model of understanding how viruses get through and infect people. But we use the Swiss cheese model in all kinds of scenarios for understanding, systems failures and how something happens. Oh, this failed, then this failed, then this defense failed this way, then this failed. Um, and it's a very linear way of looking at, you know, thing goes into motion, boom, thing breaks, right? And it doesn't take into account that maybe over here there was a system operating a particular way that, you know, created a certain set of environmental factors that over here influence this system to behave in this. Like, it does not allow for understanding the systems at play and how complex systems really interact with one another to display vulnerability, I guess, in the right way. And so that's another critique I've heard about root cause, that looking at it as this happened, then this happened, then this happened, then this happened, is a sore inadequate way to understand how all of your systems work together and create success or failure on any different given day, right? I don't know
So
if you have thoughts on that.
yeah, I mean the Swiss cheese model is it's surprisingly controversial in the resilience community, but I understand the critiques of it. But one thing I like about it is that like if you look at the Swiss cheese model, like it doesn't make sense to ask like, well, which hole is the cause, right? Like
Yeah.
it is a model that shows like you have like the systems are heavily fortified against failure, right? There are multiple things that all had
Mm-hmm.
to break down, and this is something that you like this is one insight that I think you can only get through like the resilience style like incident investigation. When you ask people, well, normally this alert fires, but this change happened here, and that alert ended up being broken, and
Mm-hmm.
there's a whole bunch of things that are typically working that all sort of at the same time like happen to fail in some way, or something weird happened. Oh, there was like this database was running too hot, and then at the same time there was a spike in traffic because of this other change here. And so the thing that I like about the Swiss cheese model is that it's like not like one spot, like that there's a set of holes that lined up, right? So
Mm-hmm.
there's a circumstance that arose that enabled it to happen. Now, yeah, it's linear, it's like you're passing through the things there, and like even James Reason himself was like, yeah, it's not a perfect model. I'm not like super personally invested in in how strong the Swiss cheese model is, but I do like it as a metaphor of saying there's not a single, like you can't attribute it to a single factor here. That like these
Yes.
each like there had to be holes and
The
like
defenses failed.
yeah.
Yeah.
Now what else?
The time order is problematic in that, like, that's also not even necessarily an accurate representation of time and how time
Yeah.
interacts with incidents, but it is you know, like you said, an imperfect model.
But I mean, all models are imperfect, right? Like
Yes.
they're tools to help us think. I mean, one thing that
Their flaws are actually opportunities to point that out, right?
yeah.
Well, to
Okay,
have the
like, yeah, I know I
discussion.
drew this
Yeah.
picture, but here's why it's wrong, and
Mhm.
that hopefully you get them halfway there with the flawed model, and then you go back and
Unfortunately,
you
a
say,
lot of
okay, now
people
here's where
don't.
the complexity is.
Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of people don't do that, which is why, I mean, I do. If we go back to the history here, like, how did this happen? How did root cause as a concept jump from manufacturing? Like, who the fuck thought it was a good idea to jump from manufacturing, a much more linear kind of process oriented thing, to something as highly complex as even like the medical field, right? Like, where you've got multiple different sort of sets of complexities happening at once that often generate failure. Like, who thought that was a good like, where did that come from? Like, why didn't someone question that? Like, we can't just apply this over here without thinking deeply about it, right?
Yeah, I mean, once again, I have no idea what the history is. I know that like lean is. I know that manufacturing, like in our world, like they started. Was it the '90s? They started taking like stuff from the manufacturing space, like lean
Mm-hmm.
and Six Sigma and stuff like that. But I will say that like in the absence of when there's a gap, if you have something that will fill that gap, people will take it. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
here's a process, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like we have a problem. Here is a process. We find it useful in this other spot, and people will take. And like you got to give them something, because if you give
Yep.
them nothing, then they're like they will flail, and so they want a
Yep.
solution. And so like I don't know if there was an alternative. Like I had no idea
Yeah.
in other spaces how it evolved, but like it it was certainly successful from a like marketing adoption perspective,
Yeah.
right? And it's like much more than like what I advocate for. I advocate for this thing that like takes longer and spends more time, and then it was like
Mm-hmm.
you have a longer thing here, and it's like
And
I can't.
produces less satisfying results, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like it's a tough sell, man. I will tell you, like it is hard for me to find people who are like, yes, I wanna spend more time on something where like it's not clear to me what the benefits are. Um,
We're
Yeah.
selling diet and exercise to people who are getting Ozempic from root
Yeah.
cause analysis,
Yeah.
right? Like, I just inject this into my process and I get a reason and a thing to blame and I can move on.
yeah,
Well, I do think like we certainly have experienced this, Clint and I, in different environments where it's like you don't fight. The idea of doing incident analysis is not to fight. Maybe Clint and I still have like an outstanding debate here. I don't know the answer to this, but the the advice I have gotten in the past and the way that I've approached it is you don't fight the 5 whys or the RCA or the whatevers. You just add. You say, "Oh, and we're going to experiment with this other thing once in a while." And it can never be a thing because of how certainly in-depth incident analysis, and you can do various versions of this. I think Michelle Casey talked about just adding a few things to your hour-long retro template of like what was confusing or surprising or right. So there are like lighter ways to get different insights other than just like looking at root cause in your incident processes that don't involve in-depth incident analysis. But you don't do in-depth incident analysis for every single incident. Otherwise, that's just
no,
not a thing.
you don't have the time, right? Like you have to I mean, one of the challenges is like how do you figure out where to spend that time, right? And it's
Right.
not, and like, and it interacts with severity in a weird way because like the higher severity incidents, they get a lot more organizational attention. There's a lot more time pressure, and there's a lot more expectation from higher up of the kinds of outcomes they want to see,
Outputs. Yeah.
right? And so like if you were to
Where are your
produce,
action items?
yeah, like a 30 page case
With
study,
no action items on it.
yeah, that's not going to go over well. So you have to figure out, like, okay, based on before you've done an analysis, where do I think it's most productive to put my? Now I'm not like an analyst at this point, but like, where am I going to put my time? Right? Where is the best place to put my time? Which ones am I going to pick and be able to run with? Um, and yeah, that's another skill. One of the problems is like, so it's a skill, right? It's really a skill to be able to do this well. So you need someone who's like motivated and has that, or is willing to like practice it. And like you can do the incremental stuff is what I try to do, right? Like you can add. My favorite question is just, well, like in an incident, like in an incident retro, like how did you figure out that the problem was X, right? Like
Yeah.
very frequently they don't have the details there. They're just like, well, we figured out X. And like that is my favorite question to ask, because like I will usually get like a fun answer from it, and you'll see some like some debugging skill being shown, and people might learn something, and it's like and I'm like, you can always ask that question. Like, how did you figure out what the problem was? Is a fun like incremental thing to do. But generally, like I have found it's super hard to move the needle like organizationally, to even like on the ground, like to get people to see this other way has value. Like I've definitely run into the brick wall of like, let's not do 5 whys anymore, let's do this instead. Like I have like touched the stove that multiple times, gotten burned, and like yeah, I concede now, like doesn't work. I agree. And so like
So
Yeah.
so far
It's like
the
the Howie guide,
similarities
right?
are so far the similarities are one, they happen after an incident. That's the only similarity I know of. A pronounced difference is one is really easy to get adoption and buy-in for root cause analysis, and the other is not easy to get adoption and buy-in for in most places that we've worked in.
yeah. I mean, I would say like root cause analysis is the industry standard in our field
Yeah.
today. Like
Yeah.
if you drop me into any tech company today, then I'm going to assume that they're if I read a postmortem, whatever you want to call it, or an incident write up, or I attend a incident review meeting, I have very, very high confidence that it's going to be like root cause analysis type thing. root cause analysis action items is going to be the focus. So like we're like our approach is like the upstart thing, right? We are not the best practice today, right? We're not the industry standard. We're this weird thing that's like not legible to the organizations, and so
But
yeah.
but we're not also without precedent. I mean, I would call most FAA reports on plane crashes to be very similar to the product that gets produced with an incident analysis. And for that matter, I've posted links to like Danish Maritime Accident Investigation Board reports. Those are also very similar. So it's not that I want to like really point out that it's not that this is like some unknown, really wild out there thing. This is a process that many other safety fields have adopted to some degree, right? But is not yet adopted in the tech world, as far as I know, like broadly.
I feel like we're not doing a good job of like marketing that. You know what I mean? Of saying like instead of saying here's this like, you know, new thing we want to do, saying hey here's this thing we want to do from like industry X that is successful, right? Which is what the lean people did in manufacturing, right? Like here's what we're going to do from this other industry that's successful. You saw like I saw the stamp talk that a guy from Google did at SRECon, and it's like, well, here's a thing that we're taking from the safety world, right, and applying it here, and like I don't know what I would explicitly point to. Like I'm not a safety researcher. I'm not as plugged into like what actually like I know some of the people in those other fields, but like and I would love to be able to say, hey, let's do it the way the FAA does it or the NTSB, because like those are very respected fields, safety fields. That would be great. It's not something I've seen us really do. Is say like, hey, let's like use that strategy. Like, hey, let's like take this other field. Let's do it the way NASA does it or whatever. You know what I mean? Like even like there have been applications in space flight. Like I've gone and done an internal talk and said, yeah, it's using all these fields, blah 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 blah. But I haven't really. But it's been like very like high level. I haven't said let's do it the right way, which is the way that like these like safety critical fields actually do it. I would love to know like how successful that was.
Yeah, I'm also curious about Stamp's adoption at Google. And for those who are listening who have never heard of Stamp, you're not alone. I actually don't know what like a ton about Stamp. Stamp is it's like an acronym, STAMP. Nancy Levison is as far as I know, correct me if I'm wrong, Lauren, but Nancy Levison is an amazing researcher, safety person, and she has been very involved in its creation and and it's a particular method of, is it like a pre-mort? It's like analyzing systems to anticipate their failure modes. Is that like a good way of putting it? Or is it for post-incident analysis as well?
So
Like, is it applicable to both?
Yeah, you can use it for both. So there's like three different things. So yeah, so Nancy Levinson is a professor at MIT who's been in like the software safety world. She's been like the software safety person for like decades and decades. Like if
But
you
like not internet connected software. Like, to be clear, like she's usually dealing with software that's like getting shipped on rockets and like that kind of software, right? As far as I know.
So I'm less familiar with her earlier stuff, but it's like safety critical.
Yeah, safety critical software,
right,
much of which is device specific. It's not necessarily connected to an internet.
Yeah. I mean, I think she started doing this like in the 80s or 90s, right? Where like that you wouldn't have like it's not like, so her focus historically is safety critical stuff. So like not like internet stuff is generally not safety critical until more recently. Now it is, but like historically, pacemakers and car like vehicles and power plants and stuff like that, right? Like traditional safety critical stuff where you have software control in there. Stamp is like the overarching like system theoretic approach to safety. And so she has two things. She has like STPA, which is like a process in the design phase of identifying hazards and like putting in controls to prevent that from happening. And then she has like CAST, which is a post-incident analysis of that. So there's like a design and like STPA is for like during the design phase, CAST is like post-incident, and they both fall under the umbrella of like
Stamp. Okay.
stamps. So yeah, so you'll hear STAMP and STPA and CAST.
And there's like conferences that people go to about that, and like people who are really into stamp. I mean, this is what I know from being at Lund is like people who are into stamp are like really into stamp, and they like go to conferences and they like are very like devoted to this stuff, and it's very like I'm very curious about it. Like I don't know enough about it to really, but I also know that Google has recently experimented with it, so it'll be interesting to see what happens there.
Yeah, I mean, it's always hard to tell like how widespread these things are. And once again, it's a process, right? So Google, like it's specifically Google Maps, because Google is huge, right? So Google
Right.
Maps is where it has been, is my understanding, and that's the person who did the talk. Is from there. Once again, like Stamp, it's people, man, they love a process, right? You give them a solution,
Yeah.
like, and like I don't have that. I don't have a solution to give you. I don't have like, oh, you need a lot of skill and like time and stuff, but I don't have a prepackaged like thing. So like Stamp is a thing you can read. There's a guidebook. You can go read through it and stuff.
And then there's like a specific set of outputs, right? As far as I know.
Yeah, you're identifying hazards and controls, and like once again, it's you know, I have tried to do stuff. I'm not a Stamp person. I've read through the materials. I've tried to apply it in my space. I found it not a great fit for the kind of work that I do, but like, you know, it's interesting to go through the exercise of like thinking in terms of hazards. But there are people who are like very into it. Yeah, like MIT has I think a yearly like online conference around it. Akamai was very big at Akamai for a while.
Yeah.
But then I think the boosters have all left, and I think it like once again like all these things are very fragile. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they really depend on.
But not 5Ys. I feel like I've seen 5Ys outlast the boosters of 5Ys. Like, and is that because of how little time it takes and how little effort? I mean, you talk 5Ys and it's like, well, how hard can it be? You just ask why 5 times in a room full of people, and like you're done, and it takes an hour. Whereas like, it feels like Stamp processes are much more involved in terms of like it's like multiple hour workshops that you're doing with a set of experts in these systems, right? So that you're kind of mining their knowledge, as far as I understand. And the same is true.
You're pre-thinking.
And the same is true of incident analysis. You know, Clint and I have done incident analyses where we might have 3, you know, main investigators. We always try to have at least 2, but preferably 3 incident investigators, and you're spending upwards of 20 hours a week interviewing people, having meetings together to kind of build the documents and the narratives for like 2 weeks. You could do 40 hours, like 3 people. Like that'd be easy to do for a really proper investigation. That's a lot of time, right?
It's expensive.
Yeah.
And the takeaways are often unsatisfying. Like that's so like it sounds like Stamp has some predictable. I agree. But the point is, Stamp has some promises that it makes, right? So I think there's 2 things working in its favor for adoption, right? Which is that it has people love a process. I totally agree. Especially like if I'm like, I need to do something to make my org more safe. If you can go buy a book and say, everybody, we're rolling this out, and you get an expert excited about it in your company, like you now have some promises you can make, and it might take years before you find out that those promises are or are not kept, right? But you're leaning on the shoulders or standing on the shoulders of giants. Like there's a lot of reasons why that goes forward. Whereas a lot of what I think you pointed out, Lauren, is we haven't been great at marketing incident analysis as its own learning function with a clear set of promises that'll be made and a clear set of expectations. We're all kind of still even figuring out what to expect at the end of it. And so whereas 5Wives is like, well, look, we're going to get some value out of that hour. Right. And people come out and they're like, yeah, I really valued that hour. Right. It's not promising that much, and it is giving. It's just what I don't like is that it gives. It's like what Dr. Cook said. It's fundamentally flawed. You know, it is bringing not only you've spent some time, but you've also taken some attention away from the systemic problems and put them on the components. And that starts to become a problem when you've done it for a long time and you haven't taken the time to step back.
It's deceptively soothing, right? I think is
Yeah.
the problem.
I mean, it has a psychological value that like incident analysis does not provide. You know what I mean? Like people want to feel better, like they do. Like incidents are unsettling, right? Like me, like I freaking love them. I don't, not a huge fan of responding to them, but like to work in this space, I have to do that. So you know, I do incident management. But like afterwards, man, I love incidents. I love complex incidents, but most people are like, it makes them feel very uncomfortable. Uh, right? And so when I say like you should feel uncomfortable all the time because like tomorrow we could have an enormous F-Zero that's like nothing like anything we've seen before, like that's not really what they want to hear, even if it's true.
They
right?
want to hear it won't happen again.
Yeah.
We've uncovered what happened. Here is everything we understand about our systems, and it won't happen again.
Yeah. So we're not offering like therapy, you know, like we're not, I can't, it's not, you're not going to feel better. Like either I can help you feel better, or I can help you get better, but I can't do both. And like one of the challenges is like, in particular with like the outcomes of incident analysis is I don't know what you're going to learn, right? Like there might be stuff in here that I already know, but like you didn't know, and you knowing that will have value. But like there's clearly, I found a desire for improved learning. Like I have heard many times, like we need to learn better from our incidents. And unhappiness with the current approaches that are being taken. But it's very hard for me to like make a pitch for like, look, I don't know what the learnings are going to be out of this, right? And like, I don't know who's going to learn what, but we should try to optimize for as much learning as possible across as many people as possible, which means it's not going to be a bunch of bullet points on a slide deck, right? Like that's not how it's going to happen. But once again, that is very like an unsatisfying, like hard to sell kind of thing.
It's interesting too. There was a VP who shall not be named at a previous job, who was very down on the like learning, in-depth analysis, and would kind of diss it, that I remember, but then would be in like a meeting with some people and would ask questions that there's no way he would have known to ask if he hadn't read that report.
Yeah.
And so I think, and also that way, like learning it's not just invisible to others, right? We cannot see other people learning. Allspaw had a great post on LinkedIn about this, and I will read it in a second, but it's also it can be invisible to us when we've learned something and taken it in. We don't always remember that we learned the thing that spurred us to take action, right? And I'll just read Allspaw's post on learning that he just posted on LinkedIn. It's worth us, generating out to our 6 listeners who may not be connected with him on LinkedIn.
John is one of the 6, by the way.
So. John actually sends us Clint and I DMs in Slack every weekend or every week when he listens. It's very funny. Okay, so important reminders about learning effectively from incidents. People are always learning. The challenge is not getting people to learn, it's making it easy to learn what is likely to be useful in the future. People learn different things from incidents. They learn in different ways at different times, asynchronously. They will often learn valuable things completely unrelated to the incident or to what others learn. We cannot control what is learned, and we can create conditions and situations where people have opportunities to learn something new or better understand something that they misunderstood before.
That's great.
Good post. Good posting, John.
Yeah, we should have that guy on sometime.
Yeah.
I think that's a good way to bring us back to where we started, right? Mm-hmm. Which is, what's the difference between the two in a real practical sense? What can we tell to our listener based on what John has said there and what we've said? Like I hear us saying that we want to improve the inputs into that process. We want to create better opportunities. And that's what we would expect from a really rich incident analysis program.
Yeah. And I also like the kind of saying of learning is not fixing. They're separate things. And often these linear analyses are very focused on action items and on fixing, which again has its place and has its purpose and has its uses, but it is not learning. Those are different things. And I think that to me that's the biggest difference between the two things.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that. I think you're trying to optimize learning versus optimize prevention, right? Like those are the two. Like root cause analysis is really about prevention of recurrence, right? Like that is what you are trying to that is what you're trying to do.
But you're also not really actually able to do that, right? Like it's also sort of a lie.
But I really want to. Like,
Yeah.
to be clear, I want to. Like, I really want to prevent
like
it.
that's
And
the
if I
goal,
want to hard
right?
enough,
Yeah.
if I want to hard enough, it'll happen, right?
I mean, that is the explicit goal, though, right? Like the goals of
Yeah.
the two are different,
Mhm.
right? Now we can claim that, like, yeah, like you're not going to achieve your goal doing it your way. So even your goal is like, even if your goal is right, it's not going to work. But like, I think starting off by saying these two things are trying to like accomplish different things is a useful framing. Because like people spend so much freaking time on action items, and like one of my favorite things to track is like action items that contributed to the next incident, which is something that like unless
You might even have a law around that, Lauren.
Lawrence Law.
I track that, like, because people don't ask. They don't ask, right? Like, how did they ask, like, did we miss an action item from a previous one? But like, they don't. That's another problem with the Swiss cheese, like,
But then
model
you're
is that
just
like.
pointing out that everybody is like waiting for Godot. Like we're all on a chain of misery of our own making, Lauren. Like what?
But you got to
That's so
embrace that.
unfair.
Like, yeah, it's like that's the world we live in. You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
it's sure, yeah. Like man, we're one step away from the edge. And at any point in time, we got to get good at like stepping back. But it's once again, that's another big difference, right? Like prevention versus like getting better at things other than just prevention, right? So like we still think there's preventative outcomes that come out of incident analysis, but it's not just about prevention in terms of getting better.
I have to say something too, Lauren, because I just like thank you for the Lawrence Law and that point. And this is great about root cause analysis. I, as an engineer, have found that in those conversations with the team, as like, okay, what are we going to do about it? There are these moments where we go like, yeah, we could totally turn on auto scaling, and then we go like, hang on, how would auto scaling break? Because that right, let's just like game that out before we lean into it. And I didn't used to do that before you highlighted it and getting it into incident analysis did. And I do think it's a reasonable thing to say, yeah, if you are doing root cause style analysis, also this is the additive part. Also, just kind of think through like this isn't in isolation. You will continue to have the system after you fix it, and your fix maybe is going to break. So let's think through that during that now design phase.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny that like people, if you ask anyone like is complexity good or bad, they will tell you complexity is bad, right? We have too much complexity. And then if you ask them like, does your action item like is it going to reduce complexity or increase complexity? Like they don't even like think about that. Like so many of the things are like adding some additional. This is like adding this is where the Swiss cheese model falls down. By like adding a layer of Swiss cheese, you can like create new opportunities for failure. Like you can break the system in new ways by adding that. The model doesn't capture that, right? Like adding layers can actually sort of like create holes in other places.
Yeah, how many holes in the other layers are you going to have to poke to get to your new layer? That's that's one. Yep.
Well,
I think we solved it.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you so much, Lauren, for joining us on this adventure.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you were on our guided tour of, of root cause. It could only have been you to root cause all of this. Thank you. And if we'd love more questions, more excuses to bring people on. to answer them. So if y'all have questions, please go to thisisfinepod.com and click on that Google form and ask us them. All right. Thanks, Lauren.
Thanks,
See you
Lauren.
soon. Bye.